agree with Alan Greenspan? We ought to just eliminate the debt ceiling. Oh, absolutely. Here we go.
The ability of almost every working American to access more credit than they should have been able to masked the underlying fact that lower and middle class incomes were not rising.
That's not a tenable strategy. Isn't now the time to eliminate it? Oh, it would have been time a long time ago.
Let's put aside terrorism. Let's talk only about our own homegrown animals that are patrolling America right now. So it goes down to the simplest thing. Be prepared, be vigilant.
Well. Look who we have here. Back from the brief respite. I took a little vacation. Nothing big. Few days. Enough to drive you crazy. House has been full of people for days and days, and the eating has gone overboard, and the sugar and the carbs and the desserts and the meats and the extravagance is all over. Back to drinking water, back to working out, back to being me. It's James Walton with the I Am Liberty Show. Welcome in. Welcome in. Couldn't be more happy to be back with you, here in my fortress of solitude. I get great confidence from coming on this show and doing it. It's like it's a motivational boost. It's a confidence boost to be here with you guys, and I'm just really happy to be going into 2018 with my audience. Self-reliance, self-sufficiency, dynamic lifestyles, prepared and empowered communities. That's the game for 2018, right? That's what we're looking to achieve. So in this show today, I've got a lot to talk about, as per usual. Lots to talk about. One of the big things are goals for 2018. We're not going to go down a list, but for those of you who are out there, who are thinking about doing anything, I want you to understand that there is one thing that you must do this year as you start out. When it comes to prepping, there is one thing that you must do. And this shocking cold that's gripped the nation has sort of brought it home more than ever to me. Now, I see things always through a prepping lens. I see things through many lenses, right? I'm very good at filtering what comes into me and understanding the value in it, or how it can be molded to fit a narrative, right? I don't know. I just have a natural ability for that. I'm not patting myself on the back. I'm just stating a fact. I see all this cold come in, right? The nation gripped. There's like 20 degrees outside right now, and it's probably going to be about 11 tonight here in Richmond. Doesn't happen often, right? Now we're going to have days of this cold. Days of cold like this. Deadly cold. Deadly cold. My son goes across the street to play with his friend. I start to get nervous, thinking about the trek back from the house and the fact that somehow he could get lost. Because when you understand how vicious the cold can be, you know it only takes hours in 11 degrees. In 11 degrees, it's hours. It's especially for a child. It's hours and it's over. And I'm a little hype, right? I'm a little hyper when it comes to when the children are away from the nest. I haven't figured that out yet. My kids are little. They're still babies, 6, 2. For all they know, they're still very much babies. So I have that protective element. But anyway, this cold that has gripped the nation, what I think when I see it, this Arctic blast that's coming down and affecting the whole of the East Coast for days, I think about the polar bear just a week ago. I think about the dying polar bear video that was viral all over the place, right? You're watching this starving polar bear get around and die, and it's all because climate change. And I'm not saying that polar bear was not put in a bad place because of human intervention. I will tell you this, though. Animals starve in the wild. Happens a lot. It's nothing new. Animals starve to death. You know what else? Lots of animals freeze to death also. We have to get over the fantasy that animals die in a nice warm spot curled up with their family, and their family sings songs and dance around them when they die. No, for the most part, animals either starve, they get damaged under their bodies that they can't recover from, so they can't go get food, that type of thing. They get sick and die, right? They get in fights with other animals and die, or they get eaten alive. In most cases, that's kind of how it goes. Animals don't die of old age like they do in your house. You know what I mean? You don't get deer that live to be 100 years old. They freeze to death, they starve to death, or they get eaten alive by wolves, coyotes, that type of stuff, bears. That's the reality. What's not the reality is pushing the narrative for years and years and years and years and years that the world is warming up, the ice is cracking and breaking and melting, and we're seeing world temperatures rise, and within the next 20 years, the world is going to be so hot that it's going to be like Florida in Maine. And what happens? See, everything that is said has an effect. A long time ago, a guy told me, it's just words. It stuck with me the whole of my life. Calm down, Jim. It's just words. It's stuck with me forever. Because I'm in the business of words now, in more ways than one. Right? I am a businessman who specializes in written and spoken word. That's what I do. I talk for a living, a very meager living, and I write for the majority of my living. I'm a man in the business of words. And I can tell you that words and communication are the most dynamic thing on the planet, period. There are so many angles. And with the internet, it's even more dynamic, right? But words have a tremendous effect. Whole campaigns have even a larger effect. And I think about this idea because I'm always talking about regional disaster planning now, because I think it's where all prepping should start. I see this cold snap come in, and I realize people have been nudged away from the idea of cold preparation. People have been moved off this idea. Do they have what they need? Most likely. Are they completely prepared? No. Why? Because for years now they've been told that everything's warming up. It's going to get warm. It's going to get warm. It's going to get warm. Now, most common sense people aren't throwing all the caution to the wind. They have wood. They have clothing. They have the appropriate measures to keep themselves warm in a situation like this. But we're dealing with a population of 300 million. Words matter. When you attack the population with an idea, it affects them in many ways. And I think we're dealing with a population that's getting hit by this cold snap right now that has lived in a world where they thought, I thought winter was gone. I thought we were going to have a warming world. I thought the climate was warming up. I thought I didn't have to worry about all this. I thought I didn't have to have hats and gloves and warmers and space heaters and other ways to cook food if the power goes out. And it's 10 degrees out. If the power goes out and it's 11 out, you've got serious things to deal with. So I think back to that polar bear, because that's what that polar bear video did. It was another jab to the public to say, it's heating up, baby. The world is heating up. And while lesser thought people get up on there and they would use that and use this as an attack on climate change, it's not an attack on climate change that I'm doing here. Right? It's not. I'm not attacking the idea of climate change, and I'm not even attacking the reality of it. I'm attacking the campaign and the way that we use the words and the way that we manipulate people from the reality of what they should be prepared for. You should be prepared for what happens historically in your area, no matter what. No matter what a president says, no matter what a politician says, no matter what a superstar comes on the television and tells you. You need to be prepared for what happens in your area regionally all the time. Period. That's my 2 cents. And for those of you, right, this show's coming out just before the new year. For those of you who've just found the I Am Liberty show. For those of you who've just found prepping and are thinking to yourself, oh, we got North Korea, we got the Bitcoin thing, and we got Trump's got the market going crazy. It's got to come down eventually. When it comes down, how hard is it going to come down? We got all these things to worry about. We got the sun that can spit a giant geomagnetic storm at the planet and shut off all the lights. Where do I start? What do I do? How do I begin? Should I get the big giant food storage for the house? Should I get the AR-15 to protect the family? What should I do? I'm going to tell you what you should do. I'm going to give you the best prepping advice on the internet. I don't care who wrote books. I don't care who made videos. I don't care who made podcasts. I don't care about the 500 episodes of I Am Liberty's show that were posted long, long ago, all the way back to 2012. I'm going to give you exactly the best and most valuable information for a new prepper, period. It's not about a tool. It's not about a thing. It's not about buying one item. It's not about buying a book. It's not about anything but one idea. And that's master your regional disasters. If you're new to this thing, or if you're old to this thing and you haven't done this yet, you're way behind. You understand? You are way behind. Step one in all of this, and I took many steps before I realized this was step one, so I'm no magician. Step one is to master your region. You know what it is. You've got the information. If you don't have the information, ask your neighbors about it. If you just moved into a region, you're not sure about it, what happens, where are the flood zones, what are the hurricanes, how ask your neighbors. Master your region. And what you'll find as you begin to master your region, right? You figure out, okay, we get snow here, we get blizzards here, we get rains here, we get power outages. I need some answer for power. I need an answer for warmth. I need an answer for food. I need an answer for cooking without power. Once you figure all this out, you start to realize you're already attacking several serious disasters with your preparations. You're already laying a great base for all of your preps. And that's the reality of it. Don't go overboard and start preparing for the end times. Because a lot of people do that. They shoot for the stars, and then they wind up missing things like a hurricane. They wind up missing things like, how do I prepare for this hurricane? How do I prepare for this snowstorm? How do I prepare for this tornado? Where's my shelter-in-place location? You know, I had 1,000 different things in regards to prepping. And I had figured that I had a pretty good shelter-in-place location here in my home. And I realized that it was wrong. I was in the wrong spot. And I realized that years later. Years later, I said, oh, God, I've been thinking about this totally wrong the whole time. I've got a safe room in here that I didn't even think about. That's what I'm talking about. Master the region. 2018 should be about mastering your regional disasters. If it happens there regularly, you have to be prepared for it, and you have to be a master of it. From there, you can grow. From there, you can build. You worried about the caldera volcano? That's fine. But let's figure out how to deal with a local flood first. Right? It's my gift to you in the new year. Look, there's a lot of things you can do in this new year. But that's the biggest one if you're talking about prepping. When it comes to prepping, that's the biggest thing. I'm going to do an article on it. I figured that I have to do an article on that. I just have to. If nothing else I owe you guys that. Right? So what else? What else do we got going on? There's a lot. There's a lot going on. One of the things, you want to break it down a little bit? Well, let's look around. Let's look around. Because we're entering a new month. It's a big month. It's a month where everybody wants to make a big change, right? Now's the time. Let me tell you something. You've got to forget about January the 1st. You've got to start your stride today, and don't break your stride. Never break your stride. That's what I've come to realize in life. Planning for retirement, yada, yada. Yeah, that's all good. But never break your stride. Because the moment you break your stride, unless your stride is broken, you know what I mean? Some people suffer ill-fated situations. If your stride is broken, then you have to recover. But if your health is there and you have the ability, never break it. Never break your stride. Start today. Start now. Start immediately. Don't get hammered on New Year's Eve. Stay up late. Figure out what you're going to do. Figure out what your target audience is, your target market is. Figure out your big idea. Figure out your big goal. Whatever it is. Start it now. Start it now, because there are people all over who are already doing it. There are people out already who are already doing it. The tiny house movement is growing. Modern life too much, maybe tiny box in woods is cure. Oh no, these are those I think these are those this is a commune, yeah. It's either a commune or it's something that you can rent. To commute, oh, this is in the Virginia Blue Ridge. Look at that. To commune with ourselves, we must trek 2 hours to Standardsville, a town on the edge of Virginia's Blue Ridge Mountains, whose population has stair-stepped down over the years to 384 people. A country store, a wooded plot, which before 20 tiny houses arrived this fall, was an RV campground called Heavenly Acres. Lenore sends the first ripple of excitement through the car. Tinies have a way of doing that. Lenore is the place, I guess. Let's see what they have. The savvy emphasis on escape and disconnectedness and repose has resonated among the millennials. Getaway aims to reach. Oh, it's Getaway. Okay. Getaway's houses are booked solid on the weekends. In early 2017, the company founded by 2 Harvard graduates raised $15 million in venture capital funding. Hey, you think I have a problem with this? I mean, it is a little box with windows. There's nothing else. It's because of the stimulation, you know. It's lit like there's plywood inside. The bed is plain and white. There's a massive, I guess it's a plexiglass window that looks right out into the woods. And it's just that. It's a tiny little box. And you think to yourself, right? Most people think to themselves, what do I want with a box? I look at my children, and I know exactly what you want with a box. And I think about myself, and I know exactly what you want with a little box in the woods. You want to cut the stimulation out, man. You don't understand the attack on yourself. I mean, the attack. I just feel it sometimes. Don't you feel it? You wake up in the morning. See, now that I do this job, now that I'm a writer, I realize the screens, the noise. I wake up, it's a screen. Wipe my eyes of sleep and get started writing, right? And then what? What do I do for entertainment? A screen. And the screen is filled with all these pictures and these words that have a profound effect on me, right? These profound words. You know, it's not like they're just nice, easy words, right? The headlines aren't like Rolling Hills welcome you. Devil doll calls girl bitch. Right? Whoa, okay. What else? These headlines. China test fires missile with hypersonic glide vehicle. Whoa, okay. You take that one, right? They're like jabs all day. Record negative 37 degrees in Minnesota. Oh my God. And you're taking these jabs and these body shots all day. And then there's pictures. Right? And this lady, she's got no clothes on. And this guy, he looks evil. And this one is a killer. And this one did this to women, locked them in the basement. And then you got pictures of things that you want, right? I've got an Arc'teryx ad down here. Beautiful clothing. I got a cool advertisement here. What it is, and it's mental rape that we allow. That's really what it is. It's a mental overstimulation and raping of the pleasure centers of the brain. That's the best way I can describe it. It's absolutely brutal. And we face it all day, every day. And I look at my little babies, and they do too, right? They look at the televisions and this, and you try to take them away from it, and they scream. And you take it away anyway because you know they need a break, and you see them come back to life, right? When you take your kid away from television, you take them away from iPads, you take them away from video games, they cry, and they scream. And you're like, okay, something going on here. Because it's easy dopamine, right? It's this easy fix. Oh, I press the screen, cool things happen. But you take them away from it if you're a good parent, right? If you're a crazy parent, you never let them explore it at all. I think that's crazy because they're moving. Listen, you can say what you want about phones and iPads and video games and this and that. Your kids are moving into a world where in order for them to get paid, to make a living, to do anything, they're going to have to understand how this technology works. It's not about eliminating it from their life, because then you put them at a detriment. I was writing about this the other day. I said, this cool thing that old people have right now, this idea that I don't know anything about these blasted computers. I don't know anything about this damn cell phone. What am I supposed to do with it? That's over. That's not going to be possible, and it's not going to be cool in another 10, 15 years. Right now, it's admirable and it's cool, right? Oh, I don't know how to do this shit. Get this thing away from me. I don't know how to. I just want to make a phone call. Can't I just go to the store and buy the damn thing? It's funny now and it's admirable. But we're moving at rocket speed into a time where that's not going to be an option. It's just not going to be an option. You're not going to be able to get a job. You're not going to be able to fit socially into the fabric of the world. Don't take your kids away from everything and then give them a Mount Everest to climb of technology. That's my belief. All right? Whatever. However you feel about it. I know a lot of people say they don't give their kids any technology. They want them to be kids. That's my 2 cents. All right? You have to balance them. You have to balance them because you have to teach them the balance early on. Or else they may fall into a pit. You know what I mean? It's like the kid who never was allowed to get his ear pierced or get a tattoo growing up. You know, sometimes those kids, they finally get one, and then they get like 6 on their forehead. And you realize, oh man, you probably should have just let him get that one on his leg, and he'd have been cool with it. I had a friend like that, right? We all got the eyebrow pierced, got the tongue pierced when we were teenagers. His parents wouldn't let him pierce anything. You run into him, I ran into him like a year after, maybe 19, 18, whatever it was. He had the eyebrows, the nose, the lips, the ears that were gauged. He had everything. Everything you could pierce on the dude was pierced. And you go, oh, yeah, okay. Because you put the floodgate up. And you wouldn't let them breach. And once they breached, man, it was on. It was on. And the same thing can happen to your 18-year-old, right? Or your 14-year-old or your 12, whatever it is. They finally get into the computer. They finally get into the phone. They finally get into the iPad that they've heard so much about, and they always wanted to do it. And then they go down, man, into a freaking deep dive that they can't get out of. I pull my kids out of it, right? We put them on timer, that type of thing. We pull them out of it. And then you watch them come back to life. They literally come back to reality. It's an amazing thing to watch. But that you're building that balance in them, right? You're building the ability for them to go, okay, that type of fun is over. Now I transition back to kid fun. I'll chase my brother around. We'll play with toys. We'll play with this. We'll make crafts. We'll do art. You've got to teach them how to balance. But that's hard because we're imbalanced. That's why these boxes in the woods are so incredible, right? It's a wooden box in the middle of the woods. What, you leave your phone at home, you leave your computer at home, you go there with a book and maybe a lover, and you just, boom, you just be in the woods. And there's no incoming. Finally, the incoming stops. There's no flashing and no buying and no sales and no celebrity and no bad news, and your mind recalibrates. And just like the kids, all of a sudden you realize, oh man, this is reality. Reality has come back. I have come back. Okay. Sorry about that. I was not planning on doing that, but that just hit me there. Google Hotel Travelopoly. I'm getting out of this site. Because I do want to talk about Netflix in January. Why? I don't know. Because around this time of the month, every month, I like to look and see what's coming on Netflix. And I haven't done it yet this month. And I said to myself, why not do it with my audience and we'll just talk about it? Because I could go to USA Today, one of the great literature sites of all time. Available 1/1/18. So this is the list of movies that are coming on the 1st of January. And I got to tell you, oh, wow. I got to tell you, it's going to be a good month. That first day of the new year, you may want to sit back and relax and take a few movies in. It all starts out with 10,000 BC, which is a great flick about the Paleolithic period that I really like. 30 Days of Night, not a bad horror flick, right? Brutal vampires up there, and I think Alaska. Apollo 13, good movie. We've got a run on Batman. We've got the original Batman coming on the 1st. Jack Nick. Batman and Robin, right? Alicia Silverstone and what was the other guy's name? I don't remember. Batman Begins, Christian Bale, great one. Batman Returns, one of my favorites. Michelle Pfeiffer, Danny DeVito, Christopher Walken. Breakfast at Tiffany's, Bring It On, nobody wants to watch that. Caddyshack's coming back. Defiance was great. How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. Got Lethal Weapon 1 through 4. Love Actually. I don't know the type of person you are. You might like that show. I'm a big fan. Shawshank is back. Get Godfather 1 through 3. Start the year off right with that. That's your whole day, though. Marie Antoinette, not a bad one. What else? Training Day, always good. Troy, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. What else is coming? We go deeper into the month. 1, 2, Pirates of the Caribbean. I'm not really a big fan of that. Captain Underpants is coming. 1/10/18. My kids love that. We read those books like crazy. 1/10/18. Wild Hogs was terrible. Cat Williams is funny. Friday Night Tykes, I don't know what that is. Trolls. Okay, so the rest of the month looks a little rough. The Adventures of Puss in Boots is now up to 6 seasons. Get the hell out of here. I've watched it. I'm not gonna lie. We've watched it in this house. Cars 3 is coming at the end of the month. Gremlins is leaving. Then they give you a list of all the things that are leaving. Like Saw 1 through 6. 7. As if anybody watches them. Oh, Requiem's leaving. That's a good one. So New Year's Day, you can get into some movies if you want. If that's your thing. King Kong is coming. I don't know which one. It doesn't really say. I'll definitely be jumping into 10,000 BC probably either late night or early morning. I might ring the new year in from like 1 to 2 a.m. on 10,000 BC because the Paleolithic period is just... It's one of those things that drives me crazy. I love it. I love the sprawl and the idea and we were smaller and... Don't get me started. Just remember when you're being deplorable, #deplorable, or when you're being an idiot and you're talking about how hard life is and all that, just remember it took people to nearly come to the brink of extinction and battle back and fight to survive against pandemics and sicknesses and giant beasts, starvation. I mean, starvation is no new thing or no old thing, really. It's been around for a while. It's taken all that to make you. So when you levy and you weigh your expectations in life, what should I really be doing in my life? Remember, you're the product of that, right? All of these survivors had to make it in order for there to be you. They had to dodge the freaking saber-toothed tigers. They had to miss the battle axe of the Vikings. They had to dodge the Roman Imperials. They had to do all these things in order to make it here and now. Got guys want to do an article of the day? I didn't choose an article of the day. How long is this thing? I feel like I'm just going on, man. 28, 29, we're not bad. The kids and the wife should be back soon. I knocked the work day out of the ballpark today. I don't have a ton of client work. If you're out there and you're looking for a writer, I've got some room. But I'm in one of those situations, to be honest, where I've got some room today, tomorrow, maybe the next day. But I know once the first kicks in, it's just going to be a tsunami. But I'm good, and I'll fit you in. If you're looking for something, you want to write a book, you want to write a small ebook to make some extra money, you want to create an email marketing campaign, you want to, whatever it is, you want to start a blog, we can do it together. And I'm telling you, you go to my website, jwrites.com, and go to the portfolio, and you'll see what the difference is with my work. You'll see what the difference is. I'm good at creating headlines. I'm good at content, okay? It's just what it is. If you want to be a part of that, feel free to email me, james@jwrites.com, and we'll do business, baby. So, what do we got? Article of the week. How to get rid of fleas on dogs. Negative. Prepper to prepper. What is your everyday carry? No, this was a good article, but it was for women exclusively. No offense to the women, but I don't think that's article of the week material. How to build a smoke-free fireplace fire. I don't know about that one. That one was pretty short. Prepping by step. No, survival caches. What else? I have been reading, or listening rather, to the E&E, the Sear and Covert Gear done by the Gunmetal Armory over at PrepperBroadcasting.com. Check that out. PrepperBroadcasting.com, the new Thursday live show is called the Gunmetal Armory. And he's got a part 1, and he's going to do a part 2, I think, tonight on escape and evasion, Sear, and Covert Gear. Can the U.S. survive an EMP attack? We all know the deal with that. 3 a.m. flashlight in the windows, altitude sickness, the 1989 solar storm that knocked out the grid, preparedness activities you can do during the I don't know, none of these are really piquing my interest. Let's go look. Let's go do a quick check on one of my favorite spots. What's going on here? Where is it? Was it gone? Did it disappear? Got taken down? Oh, Prepare website. Prepper website is such a culmination of great articles. It's unbelievable. But those ones I didn't pull from there. How church life will change in a post-apocalyptic world. I could not be less excited about that one. Oh, here we go. Now, this is an article right here. Tim Gamble. Tim Gamble's got a winner. You know, I haven't posted from him in a while. He's a good guy. 1800s backcountry homesteads. Most important crop/food staple. The most important staple on homesteads during the 1800s are root crops. I believe that. Root crops dominate my garden every year. They always do. They dominate my garden. Not only do they dominate every year, but they dominate all seasons. He says the answer to the question might surprise you. It's not wheat, it's not corn, it's not beans or peas, or even tomatoes. Yeah, tomatoes, I think I'm going to leave the tomato growing to the people around me. I'm going to be honest with you. Tomatoes are a serious investment, and a lot of people grow them. Now, if you get in a situation... Now, I have tomato seeds, you know what I mean, to grow almost every kind of tomato you can imagine. But there's such an investment. I may do a tomato plant, 1 or 2. Put a cherry in the ground because my sons, they eat them like they're grapes, you know what I mean? But when you have rows and rows of tomatoes, you're devastating your soil. And I don't know. I'm not a big fan of growing them. I love them, but I'm not a big fan of growing them. I think they do a lot of damage, and they take up a lot of time. If you really want to do tomatoes good, you got to get them in the ground early. You got to keep them in late. He says the most important staples on the homesteads of the 1800s are root crops: turnips, rutabagas, beets, parsnips, carrots, potatoes, onions. I've grown everything on that list except parsnips. I've never tried. but I love parsnips. I'll tell you a secret with parsnips, by the way. You take the parsnips, you cut them down, put them in water for a day, right? And they'll start to bend a little bit. Take them out, drain them, deep fry. Deep fry like French fries, right? So cut them up like, that size. You can cut the parsnip in half, cut that half in half widthwise, and cut that in half. And you'll get like 4 little fries. But parsnip frites, that's what we used to call them because we were fancy. We used to do a grilled skirt steak with parsnip frites and a horseradish sauce. And parsnips were good, man. They were good like that. They also dry well, that type of thing. We're going to talk more food in 2018 also. I was a chef for many years, and I don't talk about food enough because I've got all the answers, man. I've cooked everything. Nearly everything I've cooked, and I've cooked it at a professional level, and I rarely ever talk about that. And it's one of those areas in my preparedness that I never think about because I can make dough, and I can already cure things, and I can already preserve. It's stuff I already know. I have a big slab of pork belly in the fridge right now, under salt and sugar. I also poured a little bourbon on it. But it's under salt and sugar, and it's curing. It's going to be smoked probably by the end of the weekend. And to start the new year, I'm going to have homemade bacon at my house. It's just one of those things you take for granted, Just do it. Just do it because you know how to do it, and you've done it a million times. So Tim says the reason root crops are so important in the 1800s is because they're very filling, high carb, high fiber, right? They're reliable crops, easy to grow, highly productive. Excellent for available food storage methods and can be prepared in many different ways. One thing he doesn't mention, though, is that, and they didn't understand it back then, of course. They still probably ate them. But when you grow beets, when you grow turnips, more than anything, they're my favorite. When you grow turnips, you grow rutabagas, you grow beets, the greens on those babies are out of this world. I mean, the greens on those vegetables are so good, it's hard to comprehend. It really is. They're delectable. Turnips and turnip greens are one of my favorite things. They really are. One time, I got sick, and I ate too many turnip greens before I got sick, and it was real bad. I mean, real bad. I got sick for a couple of days. It had nothing to do with the turnips. But, when you get sick, your stomach can't handle the things that it usually they're still great. Superpower, dark leafy green. You know what that means nowadays. We know our nutrition now. And that's what that means. Squashes, particularly winter squashes with their thicker skins, are probably the second most important staple. I grow them every year. Every year the squashes take over. Spaghetti, acorn, I grow them. And I love them, and I like it because they can sit out on the vine for a long time. I like it because they're prolific. For me, it's all about prolific. What can I put in the ground that I'm going to be able to cut multiple times, eat lots of food from? Food is my thing this year in 2018, and maybe we'll end on this segment. But food is my deal. It's a quality thing. It's a quantity thing. Because I've got several pressures. And I think you need to identify that too. The reason food is my thing is because I have several pressures. I've got boys, and I'm lucky enough that I introduced these boys to vegetables early on. But I want to have tons of vegetables every year, most of the year, because they like them. And the way they like them is raw. And that's the key for most kids, I'm telling you right now. We had the big party Friday, right? Friday of last week. It was the first year I ever said to my wife, I said, look, honey, we were watching The Grinch. I said, look, let's have a Whoville party. Let's have a legit Christmas party. And I thought to myself, if I don't, who will? Right? Who will have a nice party within our family where we can get kids together, we can get family members together? Why not me? Why not have our family host this nice party and maybe we make it an annual deal? I'm good at parties. I can cook. It's like I told you. So we had this big party, all this food spread out. You know, people came, we talked, we had fun. We seen the people that we loved. You know, we were dressed up a little bit like Who's and had a good time. It's a big deal. But on that table, I always have a giant platter of raw vegetables. Cucumbers, tomatoes, carrots, all the colors of peppers. My children love peppers. You know, green, red, yellow, all that stuff. And the kids crush it, man. They crush it. Don't need to cook your vegetables for your children. I'm just telling you that. You know, when it comes to vegetables, if you're having trouble, right? I don't like the peas. I don't like the spinach. I don't like... Just give them raw vegetables. I do it for my son all the time. My son, he's become a picky eater, right? He's become a picky eater to some things. I'll rip off leaves of kale and I'll put it right on his plate. Rinse them off, put them on his plate. He'll sit there and eat them. He'll eat leaves of kale, but he won't eat my baked chicken. I don't know. I don't get it. But I don't have to get it, right? I don't have to get it. Doesn't matter. It works. But man, did we eat good. My wife, she makes this dip. She makes great guacamole, by the way. My wife's guacamole is the best, period. It's the best that you can get, in my opinion. It's pure, right? It's avocados, it's salt, it's lime, it's cilantro. She doesn't do the onions, the tomatoes, all this other mix mash to, you know, sort of stretch the avocado. We buy avocados, we mash them up, we season them, and we put very little into it. And she does a great job. She also makes this Velveeta dip with ground turkey and rotel. And that's always a hit. But I took a giant pork loin, okay? And I covered it in garlic minced. I covered it in red chili flake and I roasted it. And I roasted it slow for a long time. I pulled it out and I cut it super thin, 1/8 of an inch thick slices. We got some rolls, and earlier in the week I pickled a bunch of red onions and jalapenos together. Sliced them, just straight up the jalapeno, length or width-wise, right up the jalapeno, seeds and all. And we made sandwiches with this delicious pork loin, these rolls, and this pickled jalapeno and red onion mix. Now, the pickle that I used was sweet, you know, so I put a lot of sugar in this pickle because I wanted to counteract the heat of the jalapenos because it's hot. The mix is hot. There's no getting around it. And we had a good time. We had a ball and we had great food to eat. But the point I was getting at is I have pressures to produce food. The kids, they love their vegetables, right? Then there's the conscious pressure. Where are you getting your food from? Where does your food come from? What does it take? We've had some serious issues with the quality of our meats from supermarkets. And I'm not buying supermarket meat anymore. It's over. It's over. I've got a couple sources. This past week we tried one which was phenomenal. It's called Bee's Knees Farm. And we're pulling their chickens right off of the farm and bringing them home. We're bringing home pork from right off the farm. Yeah, it costs more. It costs more, definitely. Is it convenient? It's not always convenient. We have to go meet them. You know, it's not like they're there in the shelf, in the store shelf. But when you think about how much time you sit around the house doing nothing, you realize, oh, it's not really a big deal, is it? Yeah, it's not really that big a deal. I'm being silly. So we're out of that. We're jumping out of that whole thing. Because the time has come to upgrade the quality of food that's going into your body. You know? What are the other pressures? Well, the other pressures are for health, right? It's what the kids like. It's the social and the conscious aspect of where your food comes from. And then it's, of course, the overall health. I push my mind and my body to the limits. I felt like I got hit by a truck yesterday from the gym. Just brutalized. Worse than normal. I don't know. I might have been coming down with something from all the holiday jibber jabber and stuff. And I think to myself, when I feel that way, I say, what am I putting in now? That's all that comes to mind. I wake up and I feel like I've been beaten. And I say to myself, what am I putting in? I wake up, I eat 4 eggs. I eat some breakfast meat. I have a big glass of milk. Yeah, that's how I eat breakfast. I don't eat oatmeal. And then I say to myself, what for dinner, you know? Last night I was eating some Indian candy, if you know what that is, but another great thing to put into your body. It's not candy. It's a preserved bit of salmon. You know, sweet preserved, smoked, delicious. And you put these good things into your body, and you know what happens? You get good results. Now, I'm not saying that's the only way to get good results, or you have to only put these good things in your body, because I'm not a totalitarian. But what I'm saying is, and I'll break it down very simply as we end this show. Visit the IamLibertyShow.com. Okay, I'm days away from releasing Man Fit, Man Live, which is going to be an ultra cheap ebook. Probably cost you $1, $2. You know, I'll be completely honest with you. That's more for harvesting your email list than your email more than anything else. But that's because I've got courses in the works that are coming that are going to really just break down this whole self-sufficiency movement in 2018. But what we're talking about is two very clear and concise goals, right? Two very clear and concise goals that you can carry into your new year. Master your regional disasters. Become a master. There's no reason for you to guess anymore what's coming. Is it going to snow this year? Do I need to have salt on hand for my... Build a checklist. Master your regional disasters. Don't be surprised by those. And what you'll find is, like I said, all those preps are going to affect other preps when you start to expand your horizon. Now's the time, 2018, to start looking at food. Where do you get food? How much food can you produce? I'm going to have a whole course on food. That's the first course that's coming. It's coming early 2018. It's going to be the many ways that you can affect and change food production and food sourcing in your life in a way that's way more self-sufficient than going to the supermarket. We're still going to go to the supermarket. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with buying avocados from the supermarket. But I want to lean less and less on that supermarket. That's my goal. Okay? If you want to take that journey with me in 2018, subscribe to this podcast, whatever it is you got to do. Go to the website, IamLibertyShow.com. We always have the new podcasts up there. Come and listen to me live every Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at PrepperBroadcasting.com. You got to join the army. You've got to join the movement. Let's push towards self-sufficiency. Okay? That's all I ask. Because I know it changes the world. It will change the world. Right? Strong communities, healthy Americans, dynamic lifestyles, and self-sufficiency in 2018.